Thank you for checking out Tea and a Buddy on YouTube. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello and welcome to the Tea and a Buddy podcast with me, Dominic.
And me, Erica.
And we've got a great show lined up for you today. A very evil show. It's further on from our Tuesday's podcast about podcast episode about the British bad guy trope.
Yes.
The evil bad guy. We're going to be talking about some of those evil bad guys in this episode today.
Some, but not all.
Some, but not all, because there's millions of them. In almost every American movie, if there's a bad guy, he's usually British. We're going to kick off with, and we talked about this in the last episode, Alan Rickman.
Yes. The
dear departed Alan Rickman, known to millions as Professor Snape in the Harry Potter saga, where he was playing a bad guy for most of the movies, but we won't spoil the ending for everyone.
If you haven't read or seen the Harry Potter films.
But if you have, then you know at the very end he was
he's one of the ultimate great bad guys, I think.
Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah. You know what comes
Hans
to mind?
Gruber.
And it's not, it's an American film. Obviously.
John McClane.
Kevin Costner is American and plays Robin Hood, but my favorite of his bad guys
was the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh my God, he was absolutely brilliant in that movie. That he makes the whole movie basically.
Yeah, I remember it. Yes.
Yeah,
it's Kevin Costner,
good.
And Morgan Freeman, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good.
But everybody knows him as Hans Gruber, but he was playing a German in Die Hard. Mm-hmm. I think that was his first big major Hollywood role.
Probably, yeah.
And he had the voice and everything. He had the voice, but he was playing a German in it, but everybody loved him. Everybody remembers the villains.
He's got that really deep voice, or he had.
He had this really deep voice.
Yeah, and it's just it just sounds evil to begin with.
Yeah. So, he was perfect casting for Snape, too, with that, I mean, J.K. Rowling had a hand in casting him for Snape.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, I think she was like, oh yeah, it's got to be Alan Rickman. Because, she had, almost control and everything over it, who they were casting for Dumbledore and everything like that, But yes, Alan Rickman, as he was the bad guy in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, wasn't it?
Yeah.
1991. Die Hard was 98. No, not 98. 88, I think. 88, 89, yeah, I think so.
I have no idea.
The next one...
You're looking at me for confirmation. I'm just like, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. The next one is another great villain. He's known nowadays to TV audiences as a great villain. Charles Dance.
Who played Tywin Lannister.
He played Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, and he also played an earlier version of Tywin in Last Action Hero. The Arnold Schwarzenegger film with the kid. If you've seen the movie, the Arnold Schwarzenegger's playing this cinematic hero called Jack Slater.
How are you saying his last name?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger. How are you Schwarzenegger, innit? Schwarzenegger. How do you say it?
Yeah, Schwarzenegger, yeah.
Schwarzenegger, yeah. Yeah, but Charles Dance is in that as the villain.
I don't know if I've seen that.
Oh, that's something we've probably got to watch.
Maybe I'm sure you forced me to watch it at some point.
It's a fun movie. The kid goes to the cinema. The plot is the kid goes to the cinema, and it turns out that the cinema, there's a portal between the cinema and real life, and he can go into the movie, and he can because Jack Slater's his favorite action hero, and Benedict's the evil villain played by Charles Dance. And, he has this, he stole the show. Everybody believes that Charles Dance was the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
Because he was playing this super villain type.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had great lines as if God was a villain, he'd be me. You know, he was just, and he had the eye and everything. He was like a Bond villain.
What was it that we have seen him in where he's reading out of a book?
Big Fat Quiz of the Year.
Oh, that's it.
It's this panel show that they do, and we didn't watch this year's one, well, last year's one. Big Fat Quiz of 2018 or 2019 or whatever it was. Yeah, Channel 4 usually get him in to read an autobiography of, like...
Someone ridiculous.
Of a reality TV star or a tabloid celebrity.
Kim Kardashian's autobiography or
he
something
reads a
like
passage
that.
and they've got to guess who the who the author is.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's reading it as Charles Dance, you know. He's just like, so I said to my mate, you know, what you doing over there?
All serious and evil villainy.
And she says, what you doing over there? And I said, no. You know, he's reading it kind of like... You know,
dramatically.
Giving it a good dramatic reading that as only Charles Dance can. And of course they make fun. It's like, oh yes, Tywin Lannister reading some evil person's autobiography.
Maybe I'm imagining this, but they've got him in some kind of like throne chair or something.
They got him in like one of those gentleman's club, the Diogenes Club, which Sherlock Holmes fans will know about. It's like a gentleman's club, you know, setting with like the library behind him, the fire roaring, and you know this thing, and he's having a scotch and he's just reading Katie Price's autobiography. Katie Price is a reality tabloid star, so you know I think that was one of the things, you know, they've got to guess, and it's like, or he'll read like no, that's Jon Snow, the newsreader.
Yeah,
he'll read out like lyrics from this year's biggest pop hit.
And we're not talking about Game of Thrones, Jon Snow.
No, we're not talking about Game of Thrones, Jon Snow. We're talking about Channel 4's Jon Snow. Another great villain, moving along, is Jeremy Irons.
Oh, yeah.
As Scar in The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of villains.
He's kind of known. He's kind of like the old Mark Strong, isn't he? Which we'll get to later on.
The old Mark Strong.
You know, because there's one British guy who just takes all the villainous roles in in movies, you know.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy Irons, he's another one that's got like a really distinctive voice. You know?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's kind of like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, as he was Scar in The Lion King, he was like Mufasa. I killed Mufasa.
Yes.
Simba. You know. Simba. You silly little cub.
Oh my God! Yeah, he's
done a load. Yeah, I mean, The Lion King is what he's is what he's known for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I mean, you know, he was probably going on like doing more of an impression of George Sanders as Shere Khan in The Jungle Book. Another.
Oh yeah,
you know, it's like that's animated like animal villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you don't, Shere Khan, the tiger in the jungle.
Animated animal villain.
Yes, you know all those animated animal villains.
Yeah. You know, I was reading an article recently that said that they think that the British villain kind of began with Shere Khan.
I think it might have done. I mean, there was things before that.
Was by, but
there were stuff before that, like for example, James Mason in North by Northwest.
Oh,
he was Cary Grant's nemesis.
Okay,
Deadly enemy. Philip Van Damme.
Yeah.
In North by Northwest. James Mason had this he had this kind of what was it, like wise guy kind of accent, didn't he? It was hello chaps, I'm going to talk to you now. And he was really good in those kind of roles, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, yes. Another villain, Angela Lansbury.
What?
You think Angela Lansbury is like this sweet little Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote, and doing all this. She was the teacup in Beauty and the Beast, wasn't she?
Yeah.
But she was in The Manchurian Candidate as Eleanor Iselin, the scheming villain in that.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
The Frank Sinatra version.
Yeah.
Because there was one before that. And I think that was played by another British actress too, the villain. Oh, no. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say the Frank Sinatra one was the original one.
The Frank Sinatra one's the original one. I think there was a remake, but I think it was like... I
want to say it had like Denzel Washington or
Denzel
something
Washington
in it.
and maybe...
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I forget her name now. It's completely gone, but she's a big famous actress.
Her.
That one, you know. Yeah, Meryl Streep. That's the one I was thinking of. Meryl Streep.
Big famous actress.
That big famous actress that I completely forgot the name of. Sorry, Meryl. Yeah, Angela Lansbury was like the scheme. It wasn't like a total like, but she was like, she was scheming to get to power.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course George Sanders played this kind of like Shere Khan, that kind of villain. Is like always got to get Mowgli and everything.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of thing, and of course then Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. He's like he elevated it into. He took the British villain to another level, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And these are
just
a
psychotic level.
To a psychotic level, eating livers with fava beans and
he took it back
a nice Chianti.
He took it back to the silent films where the crazy guy was twirling his mustache and tying the woman to the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Yeah. He brought it all back.
He brought it all back, but he just went for it, with his mask.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because he was eating people.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
Hannibal the Cannibal. Yeah, I mean, hello, Clarice.
Mm-hmm. And then the famous line, I enjoyed his liver with
fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Ugh.
Yeah. Mark Strong is next. I mean, he's played various versions. He was in the Robert Downey Jr. Version of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's been a villain in pretty much everything. I remember Mark Strong when he wasn't a villain.
Yeah.
When he was in Our Friends in the North, he was Tosca.
You know who Mark...
With Daniel Craig, You know
who Mark Strong always visually resembles to me? Andy Garcia. When I see Mark Strong, I always automatically think Andy Garcia for some reason.
Like a bald Andy Garcia, yeah.
Yeah, and like a meteor, I guess, like a beefier.
Yeah.
Andy Garcia. I don't know. Something about him is very Andy Garcia to me when I look at him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that kind of like rugged kind of face and, ruddy kind of face.
Attractive,
he's bald,
really, Mark Strong.
And he's just like, I'm a villain, And he took all the... he got typecast as that, and he's run with it, because a lot of British actors now... They don't want to be the villain. They play a villain.
Yeah.
That's their first start in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you get out in Hollywood and it's like a British villain. They're like, oh yeah, you're going to be a villain.
You're British. You're a villain.
You're automatically a villain in this movie. You'd be great as that.
Yeah.
But they don't. They do it once for the money, and then they're like, no, I want to play a leading actor role. I want to play, character actor. I want to play, not a villain.
Yeah.
But it's like, sorry, you're a villain now. Everyone knows you're a villain, and that's, you're just going to keep getting cast as the villain. And I think Mark Strong is fine with that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'll play the villain.
I mean,
no one else wants it, I'll do it,
Has he been, like, the villain in a movie that's set in America, though? Because it's like Sherlock Holmes, they're supposed to be British.
Yeah.
He was in The Kingsman, and they're, like, British, too.
Yes.
I'm looking at his IMDb.
He's a British villain.
Yeah.
He's been in American films.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's been in a lot of films. He's just not a really big name over here, though.
Because he's playing the villain, and it's kind of like he's a character actor, so... Yeah. Zero Dark 30, I think he was in that. John Carter, he might have been the villain in that.
Yeah, he was in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He was in
Green Lantern. Sinestro, yeah.
I haven't seen Green Lantern, but yeah, he was Sinestro in Green Lantern, so I'm assuming with the name that sounds like Sinister, that's
Sinestro.
probably the villain. Yeah, but yeah, he's very villainous.
Another one is, another great villain is Ian McKellen.
Oh.
As Magneto in X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously he's known to millions
Gandalf.
as Gandalf, yeah.
Yeah.
But he had to go and play Magneto in X-Men. That's where him and Patrick Stewart got to be friends and got to be best buds, because best mates, because they were hanging around on set together. I mean, they knew each other, but then they became like really good friends,
Yeah, I had forgotten that yeah. I mean, obviously, I've seen those films, and he was great. Yeah, he was a great bad guy in that. But you do automatically think of Gandalf when you see him.
Well, yes, yeah. He originally, I don't think he was a bad guy in X-Men. I think he was like, him and Charles Xavier were friends, and it was kind of like that age-old story of he got turned to the dark side. Anakin Skywalker type thing.
Yeah. And
just saying that, I think him and Patrick Stewart play off each other so well that I think he probably should have a role in Picard at sort of some, get him in on the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah, are you listening?
Are you listening, Alex Kurtzman or Patrick Stewart?
Patrick Stewart, I'm sure,
because he was at the premiere for Picard.
Ian McKellen was?
Yeah, he was just supporting his old mate, and I was like, oh, that, there's an opportunity here for him to play someone.
Yeah, I just love him. He's so flamboyant and just like
he's
funny.
A great raconteur as well. I mean, he was on when they get him on Graham Norton, and that's a great show. I've come to appreciate that now, because looking at clips and stuff, it's kind of a relaxed setting. I mean, they get to drink in the green room and everything, so they come out and they're ready with like, oh yes, I remember this story once I was walking down the street and someone mistook me for whoever, and it's like a really funny story.
Or you have a mix of people
and they're not talking to like the audience, or they're talking to Graham, they're talking to like the celebrity that's next to them. Emma Thompson is like talking to Robert Downey Jr. about this, as if she's just now telling him this story, and we're just getting to listen in.
And so often, because of the number of people that they have on the, as guests, and just the mix of people, they all know somebody. They all know a similar person.
They all know a similar person, like, oh yes, it's a show business at the end of the day.
They're all just like, oh yeah, I know him. I've worked with him, oh yeah, I've got a funny story about me and him, you know?
And it's not like it's not like a defamatory story or anything. I don't think there's ever been anyone who's said anything like ugly about someone on. Maybe, but I think they're okay,
But yeah, Ian McKellen, just
going back to Ian McKellen now, yes.
That it was a short-lived show, and I don't know if they showed it in America, but it was created by Gary Janetti, who also had a hand in Will and Grace. Yeah. And like, I don't know, I want to say South Park, but I don't think that's right.
No. That's Trey Parker and Matt Stone, South Park. But Gary Janetti and his husband.
No. It was just
Gary Janetti?
Yeah. I can't remember what the other big show is that Gary Janetti is known for. Anyway, he created the show Vicious, and it came on in Britain. And that was a really great show.
It was a great show. It only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah, and that starred Ian McKellen.
And Derek Jacobi.
And he was not a bad guy in that show. He kind of was like an obnoxious, like... He wasn't a villain.
He wasn't a villain, but he was an ex-actor.
Yeah.
or a struggling, aged actor.
Yeah.
Who, his ego had let him down on several occasions, and, missed it. I could have been someone. And Derek Jacobi's character was his husband, boyfriend, whatever it was, who still hadn't told his mother after 50 years he was gay. It's just like, and who else was in it? Francis Delator. It was kind of like what he'd done, Gary Janetti, was create the Rising Damp situation, but with 2 gay characters.
Oh, and also sort of Will and Grace, really.
And Will and Grace, yeah, he merged them too, and it was kind of like an old style sitcom.
Yeah,
the way it was shot and everything.
It was very like it was sort of like a stage production.
Sort of like a stage production, which really, honestly, it benefited from. I mean, a lot of audiences today, I mean, that's why it only lasted 2 seasons, is because people were just like, oh, it's too old-fashioned, blah, blah, blah. It's the jokes are, you can see them coming from 2 miles away.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It was funny.
It was very
funny.
It was very campy. And it had, what's his name? The psychopath from Game of Thrones.
Ramsay Bolton. Forget his name now, but he was the young guy in it.
Yeah. If you.
But it was a really it was quite charming. Yeah. So if you ever see it, watch it. You'll
if you can find it anywhere. I don't know where. Just look for it. It's called Vicious. Anyway,
Vicious. Yeah.
If you're an Ian McKellen fan at all.
Vious.
Yeah.
Moving on from Ian McKellen, Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
I think that's how he became known over in the States, isn't it? Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a comic book villain.
Dominic and I have recently gotten aboard the Marvel train.
The Marvel ship.
Since we
we got a subscription to Disney Plus.
We gifted each other Disney Plus for Christmas.
Yes, I bought one. She bought this. We're on Marvel. We've watched all the Star Wars movies again, including The Mandalorian. Now we're on to the Marvel films, which Disney have conveniently bought, and
they're actually really good.
They're really good. I've got to say, like years ago.
We're getting so off topic, but you guys, if you listen to our podcast, this happens. So just roll with it.
It's on topic because Tom Hiddleston, Loki, Thor, and the Avengers. So we watch the Avengers and everything, and
we avoided those movies as they were coming out not because they looked terrible, but just because of the oversaturation. We were just like, oh god, it seemed like there was one coming out every month.
Well, I distinctly remember being in the cinema watching something with my friend, and years ago,
all the previews beforehand.
All the previews were like Spider-Man, Batman, Captain America. It was just all the. It was just like, they're all superhero films. It's like, is that all they're making now?
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, this is kind of like, it's like, there's no variety in cinema anymore. It's just all action, blockbuster action.
Yeah.
Now that I've gotten older and we're watching these in succession, I'm like, oh yeah, they're actually really, really well made.
They've got a good
script.
Stories.
They've got a good script, which is, you've got to have a good script, even if the rest of the movie is terrible.
The actors are quite good at making you believe their characters. You know what I mean? They get really into their characters and all of that.
Yeah, and I can see why, people. So we watched the whole Avengers trilogy.
I think there's 4 of them.
There's 4 of them. Yeah, there's 4 of them, but the final trilogy which ended with Endgame.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all pretty good. Now we're just kind of going back and watching, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Civil War and all that. And they're really good. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like full on superhero.
And speaking of, Iron Man, we're superheroes now. So, Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3, he was another villain.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
I mean, he's known for playing Gandhi and stuff like that. It's funny, going back to Patrick Stewart, he always says that he used to be mistaken for Ben Kingsley.
Oh, really?
Because they were bald. They're both bald.
Because they're both bald. They're both quite little.
They're both bald, they're both British, and they both speak with kind of like that kind of accent.
They're both small people, too, I think.
Are they?
They're both fairly small for men.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody knows Ben Kingsley for Gandhi. That was like a massive hit. That was like the Titanic of its day. Gandhi, yeah.
Gandhi, yes. We say Gandhi.
Yeah, it's like Nando's. I'll go to Nando's.
Yes, and Lagos.
Lagos. Yeah, Lagos, I call it. I mean, I don't know. What do you call it? Are you from Lagos or Lagos? Tell us how you pronounce your country. Another one who is, obviously sadly no longer with us, this is getting into the Star Wars thing, is Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars. He was he's another villain.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And they recently did his, for Rogue One, they CGI'd his face on. That was really good.
That was really good. It was creepy.
Because he's been dead since 1994.
Yeah, I just said, can you
and
imagine
Rogue One
being
came
his,
out in 2018
can you imagine, being his grandchildren or, his somebody related to him and just going, oh, God,
I mean, it's easy to get someone to play Darth Vader.
Grandpa's in a film again. Yeah. What?
Yeah, and even, he was like, it's a sort of prequel just before the events of A New Hope. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've never seen Rogue One, I think people would enjoy that.
Yeah.
film.
It's like a little backstory.
A little backstory to how it all started.
A little extra. Yeah.
Donald Gleason.
Yeah.
General Hux.
I know his name. General Hux.
General Hux in Star Wars.
Okay.
He's basically the new Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, leader of the First Order of the Galactic Empire, whatever.
But see, they're all British.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Star Wars created all the bad guys. It was like they tapped into that trope there.
Yeah.
And just decided, you know what, everyone on an Imperial ship is going to be British. And, you know, they kind of are. They're all kind of like, you know, I mean, of course, there's like British actors on the rebel side and everything. You know, they had Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi and all that.
Yeah.
Darth Vader, though, you know, Donald Gleeson, he's known for films such as Goodbye, Christopher Robin. He played A.A. Milne in that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And of course, About Time.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in something else we watched recently.
He was in Harry Potter.
He was in Harry Potter as Bill. Bill
he was
Weasley.
in Peter Rabbit. He's worked a lot.
He's worked a lot recently. I mean, I first saw him. I guess I first saw him in Harry Potter, but I first really saw him as, you know, as a lead in About Time. And he was really good in that.
Yeah.
But I think he's really good as General Hux,
He's not
too.
evil in About Time, so...
Yes, he is. He's just talking about the Supreme Leader and all that, you know. Just going through time.
Yes.
No, if you haven't seen About Time, that's a really good film. So go see it.
Go see it.
Go see it in the theaters now. Look for it.
Go see it in the theaters now.
If
you're listening to this...
in 2013...
In the past, yes, if you've traveled back in time... and are somehow able to hear this podcast.
Supreme Leader. But yeah, the last one we've got on here is David Prowse / Sebastian Shaw / James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones isn't British. No. But he kind of sounds British when he's speaking as Darth Vader. He's got this kind of like...
Well,
he's got one of those like...
He's got a stage voice, James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
So he really enunciates and everything, which sort of leads you to...
Yeah, to believe he's like... It's a transatlantic accent, is what they call it, like Cary Grant had.
Yeah.
It's kind of... It's not American, it's not
really
British, it's something in the middle.
Everything so that they can hear you in the back of the theater, you know? And it's just like, yeah, it's not British, but it's almost British
Yes,
sounding.
It's just like, oh, yes, you know. David Prowse basically played Darth Vader as you see him in the mask and everything.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, the big hulking figure just walking around and being like, you know, and pointing and, you know, doing that. And James Earl Jones was the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sebastian Shaw was the one without the, you know, when Luke finally took off the...
yeah, it's always so funny, though. How, that helmet was making him talk like James Earl Jones.
My helmet was making me talk like James Earl Jones.
You know how many helmets they would sell if
it actually made you talk like James Earl Jones. You put it on and you're just like, yes. Yeah. But yeah, he you know, Sebastian Shaw, and I mean there's like that controversy where they inserted Hayden Christensen into the Force thing over Sebastian Shaw's, because, you know, originally it was him, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the list we came up with, or Dominic came up with, because
yes,
Dominic does the research for these podcasts. I just kind of fly in and just comment on whatever it is that he's
What are you doing there? What are you doing now? I'll find out. Just taking off a Darth Vader mask.
Yeah, so if we left anybody off the list, let us know, because I'm sure we did.
We did, yeah. There was hundreds of people that, you know, if you've got a memorable British villain that you remember.
If you've got a memorable British villain that you remember.
That we didn't mention, and, you know, you wanted him mentioned or her mentioned,
let us know.
Let us know, yeah.
Yeah, we like to have these discussions, you know. We like to go, oh, yes, we did forget that person. Oh, God. And, you know, you never know. If we come up with another list long enough, then maybe we'll have another podcast out of this topic. Because you can't get enough of talking about British villains now, can you?
No, you cannot.
But yeah, so I think that'll wrap it up.
We're wrapping it up now.
Yeah. We yesterday... If you're listening to this podcast on Thursday when it comes out, yesterday we posted our very first YouTube video.
Yeah, we did.
Yay!
Yes. Where I test teas.
Yeah.
Try saying that several times faster. Taste teas.
Oh my god. And so go on to YouTube and check that out. If you can't, just search for Tea and a Buddy. If you cannot find us by searching, you can always visit our website at www.teandabuddy.com, and we have a little YouTube icon over on the far right hand side, so just click on that. It'll take you to our channel. We mostly have podcasts on there. We have one video where we took you guys on a tour of the British Emporium in Grapevine, Texas, but then we also have the video that we posted yesterday, which is our first YouTube style
video. I'm in it. Erica's behind the camera. And so we're gonna be making more. We're gonna be making more.
We think so, but Dominic may be the only one starring in them. I'm so awkward on camera, you guys. I'm not natural at all. So
very shy.
I'm very hesitant.
Very shy.
I'm very hesitant to come on camera. On this, I can do. I can just talk because nobody's looking at me. I mean, nobody's looking at me in the camera either. But
there's a camera right there.
But we have a camera here. I just can't. Maybe if I'm just talking to you and I'm not talking directly to the camera.
Yeah, you can just be like.
Yeah.
They do it, just
because I just automatically...
Or just lean out. You can just lean out like that and just talk from afar.
I just automatically become so unnatural. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know how natural I was on camera. Let us know how natural I was on camera.
You're never natural anyway.
No, I'm very unnatural.
Yeah.
Because I'm a villain.
So if you want to go over there, watch our video, give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know that you watched it, subscribe to our channel if you have a YouTube channel. We would really appreciate your support in that way. Other ways to support us, you can share our podcast with all your friends.
Share it all over the world.
Tell them to check it out. Give them links. We're on all the podcast apps. You can also check out our Patreon, where we have benefits at different levels of support. If you'd like to give us a monthly support,
so head on over to Patreon. The links are on our website.
We have a shop on Amazon.
Yeah, where you can buy British things.
Yeah, where you can buy British things. Anything you would normally buy, you can buy through our Amazon link, and we'll get a little bit of a cut off of whatever it is that you buy for yourself. So that's a way to support us. Other than that, just listen to our podcast. Yeah. That's the biggest way. Us. That's the biggest way to support us, and we really, really, really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah. So thanks you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.